Cars today are smarter than ever, packed with sensors, electronics, and safety features that make driving easier, but also a lot more expensive when something goes wrong. A flashing warning light, a frozen screen, or even a stubborn window can send people rushing to the dealership. But here's the thing that most drivers don't realize. Many of those big problems can be solved with a simple reset you can do yourself in minutes for free. Here are 17 resets that will save you hundreds of dollars. Number 17. Tire Pressure Monitoring System, or TPMS Relearn. Few dashboard lights are as common or as annoying as the tire pressure warning. You top off your tires, but the light stays on. That's because the car doesn't just monitor pressure, it also tracks individual sensors inside the wheel. Rotate your tires, replace a sensor, or disconnect the battery, and the system can lose track of which sensor is where. That's when a TPMS Relearn comes into play. On many cars, you can trigger this through the Settings menu, where you'll see an option to relearn or reset TPMS. Some vehicles require pressing a physical reset button, often located under the dashboard or inside the glove box. Once complete, a short drive usually clears the warning light. It's one of those things that sound technical, but it's surprisingly easy once you know the process. Number 16. Radio Infotainment Master Reset. Modern cars are basically rolling computers, and nowhere is that more obvious than in the infotainment system. Bluetooth drops calls, the navigation freezes mid-route, or the screen just won't respond. Sound familiar? When this happens, people often assume the dealership is the only fix. But in reality, a master reset can clear out the bugs and restore normal function. The process varies, but most systems have a reset buried in the setting menu. On some cars, you might need to press and hold a combination of buttons, often the power and volume knobs, until the unit reboots. Think of it like restarting your smartphone. All those small glitches disappear because the system reboots with a clean slate. Number 15. Sunroof Power Window Recalibration. Let's say you replace a battery, or maybe it was disconnected during service, and suddenly your power windows don't respond the way they used to. The one-touch feature doesn't work, the window won't roll all the way up, or the sunroof gets stuck halfway. That's because many modern cars use sensors and stored positions to operate these features safely. When the system loses power, it also forgets the exact travel limits of the glass. The fix? A simple recalibration. Usually, it's as easy as closing the window completely and holding the switch in the up position for a few extra seconds, then lowering it all the way down and holding again. The same principle applies to sunroofs. If yours refuses to close or stops before sealing, chances are it just needs to relearn its travel points. Following the calibration sequence restores full functionality without a trip to the dealer. Number 14. Parking brake, electronic parking brake reset. For decades, a parking brake was a simple cable you pulled. But now many cars use electronic systems with small motors that clamp the rear brakes at the touch of a button. Convenient, yes, but when something goes wrong after a battery replacement or brake service, that glowing EPB light can make drivers nervous. Fortunately, the reset is often built into the system. In some vehicles, you simply turn the ignition on, press the parking brake switch down, and hold it until the motor cycles and the warning light clears. In others, driving a short distance allows the system to reinitialize itself. Number 13. Trip Average Fuel Computer Reset. Sometimes the simplest reset is the one that makes driving feel fresh again. Your trip computer and average fuel economy display are small features, but they're also ones you interact with daily. Over time, those numbers can get cluttered with data from long road trips, stop-and-go traffic, or months of mixed driving. Resetting them gives you a clean slate. On most vehicles, it's as straightforward as holding down the trip reset button on your dashboard until the screen zeroes out. It only takes a couple of seconds, but the effort is immediate. You'll see your fuel economy and trip distance start building from scratch. Number 12. Oil Change, Service Light Reset. That little wrench or change oil soon message isn't just a nagging reminder. It's tied to the vehicle's maintenance schedule. But what most drivers don't realize is that even after changing the oil, the system won't reset itself. That's why the light stays on, leaving people thinking something's wrong when it's simply waiting for a manual reset. The method varies by brand, but the idea is the same. Turn the ignition on without starting the engine. Then use either the instrument cluster buttons or a menu option to find oil life or service reset. On some cars, you press and hold the trip button until the display zeroes out. Others use a quirky pedal trick, like pressing the gas pedal 3 times within 10 seconds. The whole reset usually takes less than a minute. Number 11. Battery registration, matching. Swapping out a car battery used to be as simple as pulling the old one and dropping in a new one. But on many modern vehicles, especially those with start-stop systems or advanced charging control, the computer actually learns the condition of the old battery over time. Put in a new one without telling the car, and the system might keep charging it as if it were old, leading to poor performance and a shorter lifespan. That's where battery registration comes in. It's essentially a reset that tells the computer, hey, this is a fresh battery, start from zero. Some cars do this automatically after a few drive cycles, but many require either a sequence of ignition pedal steps or, more often, a scan tool that supports battery registration. It's a quick process once you have the right equipment, and it can make the difference between your new battery lasting 3 years or 7. Number 10. Key fob reprogramming. Few things are as frustrating as walking up to your car, pressing the unlock button, and nothing. Sometimes it's just a dead fob battery, but other times the fob itself has lost communication with the car. That's when reprogramming comes in. For many models, the procedure involves a series of ignition cycles, turning the key on and off a few times, then pressing the fob buttons in a specific order while the car is in programming mode. Push-button start cars often use a similar process, sometimes requiring the fob to be placed against a marked spot on the steering wheel column or dash while you follow the steps. Reprogramming is especially useful when you've replaced a fob battery, adding a spare remote, or the system has simply glitched after a battery disconnect. Number 9. Steering angle sensor, or SAS reset. The steering angle sensor is the brain that tells your car's stability control and power steering system where your wheels are pointed. After a battery disconnect, wheel alignment, or steering-related repair, the system may lose its calibration. The result? A traction control light, a steering warning, or in some cases, the steering wheel not sitting perfectly straight, even when you're driving straight. Resetting the SAS restores everything to harmony. In some vehicles, it's as simple as turning the wheel lock to lock a couple of times with the ignition on, then centering it. Others requires a scan tool to run the calibration process. Once complete, the electronic stability system knows exactly where straight ahead is again. Number 8. ABS, Traction Control Light Reset. That amber ABS or traction control light is one of the most intimidating warnings a driver can see. It usually pops up after a wheel speed sensor goes bad or when there's been work done on the braking system. Here's the thing though, sometimes the light is simply the computer waiting for a reset after the repair is done. The fix often starts with clearing the codes using a basic OBD2 scanner. Once the system is reset, a short drive usually allows the ABS module to confirm the sensors are working properly. On some cars, you may need a more advanced scan tool to run a functional test. That forces the ABS system to recalibrate. Number 7. Idle Relearn, Throttle Body Reset. Few things are more annoying than starting your car after a battery change or throttle cleaning and hearing it idle like it's had one too many cups of coffee. The revs bounce, it stalls at stoplights, or the idle hunts up and down. That's because the car's computer lost its memory of the throttle position and idle settings, and it needs to relearn them. The relearn procedure is usually simple. Start the car, let it idle with all accessories off for a few minutes, then slowly cycle the engine through different loads. Turn the AC on, let it idle, give it light throttle, then drive gently. Some vehicles require a specific ignition on, ignition off sequence, while others relearn naturally after a couple of drive cycles. Number 6. Transmission Adaptive Learning Reset. Modern automatics don't just shift, they adapt. Over time, the transmission control module learns your driving style, compensates for wear, and adjusts shift timing. That's great when it's working right, but if you've just had the fluid changed or replaced a part, the computer may keep using old habits, making the shifts feel sluggish or harsh. Resetting the adaptive learning clears that memory and lets the transmission start fresh. The best way to do this is with a scan tool that supports transmission resets. Many professional shops have them, but some affordable OBD2 tools now offer the feature too. Once reset, you'll usually need to follow a specific drive cycle. gentle acceleration, steady cruising, and smooth deceleration to teach the transmission its new baseline. Number 5. ECU PCM Reset. Think of this as the big reboot button for your car. The engine control unit or powertrain control module is the brain of the entire system. And like any computer, it can get bogged down with temporary errors. A strange check engine light, weird fuel trims, or odd sensor readings can sometimes be cleared by giving the ECU a fresh start. The simplest way to do it is by disconnecting the negative battery cable for 10 to 30 minutes. Once reconnected, the ECU starts from scratch, relearning fuel trims, idle behavior, and sensor ranges as you drive. In many cases, this clears out little glitches caused by things like low voltage or a temporary sensor hiccup. Number 4. Airbag or SRS Reset. The airbag or supplemental restraint system, SRS, is not something you want to gamble with. If the SRS light is on, it means the system has detected a fault and may not deploy in an accident. Sometimes the issue is as simple as a seatbelt buckle sensor or a connector under the seat that came loose. Other times, it's a crash sensor or even the airbag module itself. Once the underlying issue is repaired, the system still needs a reset before the warning light clears. That reset almost always requires a scan tool capable of communicating with the SRS module. Unlike an oil light or trip computer, this isn't something you can trick with a simple button press. Never ever reset the SRS system to hide a warning light without fixing the cause. That light is your only cue that the airbags may not work when you need them most. Number 3. Cruise Control Reset, Relearn. Cruise control is one of those features you don't think about until it suddenly stops working. Maybe the battery was disconnected or the throttle body was serviced, and now the cruise won't engage. For many drivers, that triggers visions of expensive dealer visits, but often all it needs is a simple reset. On some cars, this is as easy as cycling the ignition on and off, then setting the cruise once you reach highway speed. Others may require pressing the cruise on button, then the set button in a specific order after startup. A short test drive usually completes the relearn. In more complex systems, particularly adaptive cruise setups, a scan tool may be required to recalibrate the sensors. Number 2. Immobilizer, Anti-Theft Reset. Few things cause panic faster than a car that refuses to start because of an immobilizer lockout. You put the key in, the lights come on, but the engine doesn't crank, or it cranks and immediately dies. This usually happens after a battery change, key replacement, or when a module loses its memory. The immobilizer system is designed to protect the car from theft, but when it glitches, it can feel like your own vehicle has turned against you. The good news is that many immobilizer resets are straightforward. Some cars let you reset by inserting the key, turning it to on, and leaving it there for about 10 to 15 minutes before turning it off and repeating the process. Others require pressing the lock-unlock buttons in a sequence while the ignition is on. Number 1. Check engine light reset and smart troubleshooting. And here we are, the big one. The most valuable reset every car owner should know. Nothing strikes fear into drivers like that glowing check engine light. The problem is, it doesn't always mean disaster. Sometimes it's as simple as a loose gas cap, a small sensor hiccup, or a temporary misfire. The key is knowing how to read it and reset it properly. Step 1 is to use an OBD2 scanner. These little devices are inexpensive and plug right into your car's diagnostic port. Within seconds, they'll give you the exact trouble code that triggered the light. Something like P0456 for an EVAP leak, or P0138 for an oxygen sensor. From there, you can do some quick research specific to your make and model. If the issue is minor, say the gas cap wasn't tightened, you can fix it yourself, clear the code, and the light will stay off. If the light comes back, that's your cue the problem is real and needs attention. The beauty of knowing this reset is that you no longer have to drive blind. You can separate the small annoyances from the true mechanical issues, saving you countless trips to the mechanic for something you could handle at home. And there you have it, 17 resets that fix your car and save you hundreds of dollars. Which other reset did we forget to include? Let us know in the comments.